Hi, I'm Stephen M. Miller. I'm a former newspaper reporter who writes books about the Bible and Christianity. We Christians read about miracles and miraculous dreams in the Bible and ask why they don't happen today. Many people say they still do, but they're shy to talk about them for fear of getting painted like, cartoon characters. At that risk, let me tell you about one dream several weeks ago that my little sister had a few minutes after our brother died of COVID-19. Let me remind you, though, that prophets in the Bible said they got some of their messages in what they called visions of the night, which sounds like they were describing what we would call vivid dreams. These dreams weren't unique to Jews and Christians. Many ancient cultures taught that the spiritual world communicated through dreams. Egyptians wrote books on how to interpret dreams. So, people in many cultures recognized that something pretty unusual sometimes happens to some of us when we're sleeping. At about 11:30 at night, Kansas City time, where I live, my sister-in-law called to tell me that her husband, my little brother, had died of COVID about 30 minutes earlier. So he died at about midnight their time in an Akron, Ohio hospital. My brother had been on a ventilator for a month. His wife and I talked about 10 minutes. After the call ended, I realized I had to call Mom. My youngest brother had died 6 months earlier of a heart attack. So I had to tell Mom that I'm now the last of her 3 sons. Mom lives in Ohio too, with one of my 2 sisters and my sister's husband and their son. When I called, Mom put me on a speakerphone. Everyone there clustered around it. I was crying a bit and not realizing I was on a speakerphone. Mom clued me in pretty quickly. I told them I got the call. I said I was told heaven has a new angel. Mom's reaction startled me. She said, "Praise the Lord." Her voice was jubilant, like someone who believed heaven is real. I'm ashamed it caught me off guard. I just wasn't feeling heaven's side of the story yet. Mom was happy that her son's suffering was over because he was in pain. My little sister, Louise, asked if anyone had told Pam, our youngest sister. She lived closest to our brother Cliff. I said, no. Louise called her on her cell phone while I was still with them on the speakerphone, so I heard half of what happened. It was approaching 1 a.m. Ohio time. Pam was asleep. She had fallen asleep repeating a one-line prayer over and over. She too was concerned about Cliff's suffering, and she prayed to God, "Let him be okay. Let him be okay. Let him be okay." When the phone rang, Pam didn't answer the phone with her normal hello. Her voice was panicked, confused, and almost hysterical. That's how Louise described it. This is before Louise told Pam anything. Pam cried her sister's name over and over, "Louise, Louise, Louise!" Louise asked what was wrong, and Pam couldn't answer. All she could say was Louise's name. That was the first few moments of the phone call. No one had told her Cliff had died. Pam calmed herself down enough to say, "I saw him. He came to me. He said Louise would be calling. And he told me he's okay. He's in heaven. He's with Dad and Darb. Darb was our youngest brother who had died 6 months earlier. That's when I heard Louise. She got a bit hysterical. She came running over to the speakerphone screaming, "Pam saw him. He came to her. He's in heaven." "Oh," she said, "I'm shaking." She burst into crying like I've never heard her cry before. It was haunting and mysterious. It wasn't despair and it wasn't joy. It was just raw. Cliff would have liked that. When our youngest brother died, Cliff asked my daughter if she would cry for him as hard as she had cried for Darb. She did. Afterward, within a couple of days, I talked with both sisters separately to fill in the details of what happened. Pam said she saw all three Miller boys, Dad, Cliff, and Darb. They were all young men with big smiles on their faces. She said Cliff was blonde-haired again, like he was in pictures I made of him when I was taking photojournalism courses in college. I've never seen heaven. I'm counting on it being there. I'm trying to live like I'm a citizen of the place as best I can in my feeble human way. But I can't say I've seen it. Typing up my notes about my sister's dream, I felt left out. I wanted my own personal assurance that Cliff was okay. I was sitting there thinking about why I can't have assurance when an answer occurred to me. The answer was, what do you think Pam's dream was? That sounds like something Jesus would say. He often answered questions with a question. Maybe Pam's dream wasn't just for her. Maybe it was for me, too. Or for anyone who knew Cliff and loved him. Maybe it was for you. That's why I'm telling you this very personal story, in case it was for you. For those who are skeptical, I understand. Some would see this as an odd coincidence added to a stressed brain trying to help a caring sister cope with her loss. I respect that reaction, which leans into science. Others might think I made this up. I'm not creative enough to write fiction. One final note. When the last Miller boy leaves, I'd like a fair amount of crying, and I'd love to give someone assurance in a dream if I make it to heaven and if heaven approves. But I'd like there to be one person who hears that I'm gone and who knows I'm in heaven and who says in a jubilant voice, "Praise the Lord." Yeah. Hey, this is unusual stuff for me to talk about. So, thanks for sticking with me. Peace to you.